Hello, everyone.
Well, it's nice that we're like waving physically and not just using the emojis.
Computers can't replace me yet. Still do my own waves.
Yeah, I'm just imagining, hey, I guess in this context, yeah, just ask the chatbot to generate a wave video. Just saving so much energy from my upper body, you know.
And burning it all with the Gemini note-taking.
Gemini, wave to the audience. Oh, by the way, Gemini is listening and taking notes, so we better. We're joking, Gemini. You know, when you take over the world, please spare us.
How much did it cost to get the Gemini integration? Because I want to add that to the Apache Iceberg syncs, so I have to stop manually recording everything.
I can do that. You know, this is just my meeting invitation. Then it just provide free.
The benefits of working at Google.
Yes.
Well, maybe we can figure something out. I would like whatever I can do for the other sync. I'd like to do.
Okay. Hello, everyone. So it's 3 minutes in, so I think we can get this started. So I missed the last, 3 meetings? So I'm back. Hi. Sorry, it's just the timing really fell on like my traveling and vacation, and it's kind of really aligned perfectly here. I was going to facilitate today unless someone wanted to do it, so I don't know, you know, I was either way. So if someone wanted to keep on facilitating, don't hesitate. Otherwise, I'm going to do it.
Go for it.
Okay. Yeah, the sheriff is back in town, so I thought, no, I'm just kidding. So what I'm going to do, like usual, I'm going to quickly over the room to build the agenda. And let me move to the view where list of, here's the list. Right, so it's going to be an alphabetical order because this is how Meet shows the list of attendees. So I'll start. So we're going to go briefly, just who you are, where you work out, if you're comfortable sharing, and you know what brings you here, what topics you want to talk about today. If there's nothing you want to talk about and you just want to listen in, that's perfectly fine. And so we're going to do that quickly because we have quite a few people today in the meeting. So I'll start. I'm Julien. I work at Datadog, and I'm interested in learning on the progress. I think there's an email thread about finalizing the variant spec, so we probably want to talk about that. Next on the list in alphabetical order is Aditya.
Hi, I'm Aditya. I'm with the CMU-DB variants team. I'm here with Martin, and I'm here to listen.
Thank you. Aihua.
Yeah, my name is Aihua from Snowflake. I'm here to listen to the update for variant.
That's good. Andrew.
My name is Andrew Lamb. I'm from Influx Data, and I work on the Arrow Rust Parquet reader, among other things. And I'm also here basically just to listen.
David.
Hi, I'm David Cashman. I work at Databricks, and I'm also interested in the discussion about the variant spec.
Dewey.
Hi, I'm Dewey. I work at Whereabouts. I work on geometry and geography, but I'm not particularly, I don't have anything to bring to the meeting, just listening in.
Martin.
Hi, I'm Martin Prammer, Carnegie Mellon University, the variant team there, and to everyone's surprise, I'm here to talk about variants.
Micah.
Hi, I'm Micah Kornfield, and I work at Databricks. Just here to listen.
Michael.
Hi, I'm Michael. I maintain the Haskell data frame library, and I'm working on a Parquet integration. I'm here to ask some questions about implementations and golden sets and testing and all that.
Thank you. Yeah, that's going to be an interesting conversation. I think it's related to what we're talking about with variant. Now Hero.
Hello, I'm now Hiro. I work at Mitsubishi Electric and I'm interested in encoding and stuff. I'm here to listen today. Thank you.
Thank you. Prateek.
Hi, I'm Prateek. I'm part of the Snowflake team. Mostly here to listen if any discussion comes up regarding metadata encodings.
Sounds good. Raul.
Hi, I'm Raul. I work on Arrow CPP and PyArrow, so on the Parquet C++ implementation, and I work at Quantstack and University of Barcelona, so I'm here to listen in on what's going on.
Okay. Rok.
Hi, my name is Rok. I work at G-Research lately on encryption in the Parquet Rust writer and reader. I'm curious about flat metadata, so hope that comes up today.
Oh, about what metadata?
What was it? The protobuf metadata.
The new
the proposal.
The new footer discussion. Okay.
Yeah. If it comes up, I don't have anything to add.
Yeah, I don't know if it will come up today, but we'll see. Just writing down notes for the agenda. Russell.
Hi, I work at Snowflake. I have nothing of value to add. I'll be here.
Just your presence is a pleasure. Thank you, Russell. Ryan.
Hey, I'm Ryan Blue. I work at Databricks. I'm interested in currently what we can do to push the variant spec along. I think we're all pretty confident in the spec, and just wanting to figure out what are the last work items we need to make everyone confident. That's basically it. I know I also have a follow-up on geo stuff, but I don't think that is interesting to the larger group. So I'll continue the thread with Dewey on that separately.
Okay. Yun.
Yeah, my name is Yun. I work at Snowflake with Russell and Aihua, and today I'm mainly here to follow up the interval data type. Interval data. I believe we are pretty much clear, so I just want to do a final follow-up here.
Excuse me, can you repeat that? The what data type?
Time interval.
Time interval. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. And I think there are a couple people who joined in the middle. So I have Jeff.
Hey, I'm Jeff. I work at Snowflake. I have probably the same thing that Prateek mentioned about encodings to discuss.
Sounds good. and Meng Meng.
Hello, everyone. Yeah, I'm from Snowflake. I work in the scan and the DML area. Same team as Prateek. We're interested in the file format, data encoding in general. Thank you.
Thank you. And I think I got everyone. If I forgot you, please just say so now. Okay. Cool. So the topics I wrote down from what we were saying. So we have variants. There was a bit of the discussion on the footer, but I think since Alkis is not present, I don't know if we'll have an update on that, unless someone wants to chime in, someone else. And we have, besides variants, we have 3 other topics. There's the discussion of testing files. I think we can have in the same discussion from for the Haskell data frame implementation. And so there was a question on that, and Golden said, I think you looking for testing files, but there's some discussion related to variant. And we have the encodings from Prateek and team and the time interval question. So I would, you want to start with variant? I think more people want to talk about variants. So let's do that. So from what I've seen, there's a thread. We're talking about how we finalize this. And I think the main discussion is about, we said we want a couple of implementation that are cross-compatible. So we are at the point of just discussing of how we formalize the tests to make sure there's cross-compatibility on the implementation. Is that correct? So who wants to chime in on this?
Yes, yeah, I was trying to propose to close out the finalize variant spec. I guess Mike has comments, how to do the cross language testing. I think that makes sense. I think I'm gonna spend a little bit of time to do the such a validation and then move forward with the spec. I'm just wondering, like anything else, from Parquet community we want to do in order to finalize.
I think once we validated that the 2 implementations can both read and write each other's Parquet writings, that should be sufficient. I think it's important that we verify Java can read whatever is being produced by Go for shredding, especially. I know there is a little bit of confusion, I think, on the Rust side for how shredding was working. So and I think that's been strained out, but I want to make sure that other writers are writing variants that conform to the spec, especially with shredding.
Yeah, I guess as I understand, Go at least can read the shredded data from other languages, right? But I think Java maybe can. Yeah, as you mentioned, maybe I should test Go language write and then read from Java, so that we can prove cross language works.
Yeah, and that there's no ambiguity in the spec. Yep, Andrew.
I have a modest proposal, which is not just cross-test the 2 compatibility ones, but actually commit examples to the Parquet testing repo as a way to also allow other implementations to do that.
Yeah, and we have those examples, ready. I think David, you want to take that because you've generated the files, right?
Yeah, I generated the Parquet files, but I guess to have examples, we need to sort of have the corresponding variant binary that's expected for each one. So it definitely is going to take some more work to do. So yeah, I'm not sure if I'll have time, but I can try to find someone here who will have time. Or
what do you mean we need the expected variant binary?
I guess I can produce. I can take the Parquet Java tests and just produce Parquet files for readers to read. But you want to have for the shredded value, you want to sort of have some golden reference for how you expect to reconstruct it into a variant value. Yeah, so it's easier to produce them and sort of say at least we can read them and not give an error.
I mean, our tests also manually construct those values. So our test cases in Iceberg and Parquet Java have both of those things. I think it's really just a matter of how do we produce them and save them in Parquet testing in a form that other people can use to validate.
JSON might be a good start. I realize that can't represent everything you put in Parquet variant, but checking an expected JSON might be a good way to start.
Well, we already have variant binary files that were committed by Russell. Should we just take that same approach and have a directory of a named Parquet file and a corresponding, binary that is the metadata and value concatenated together?
Seems even better.
I mean, that verifies at least the read path produces the expected variant. Although there are some equivalent encodings, so you do need to implement some way of saying, are these two things semantically equivalent, not identical?
Yeah, sorry, I was suggesting JSON as a response to David's said that like sorting out some of the details of exactly how to put the variant binaries in and compare them and define all that stuff carefully was going to take a long time. But if we have time to do that, it sounds great to me.
I mean, I think we can probably produce the binary fairly easily. It's then up to the language implementation to actually do the comparison and say like, okay, I'm going to consider a short string and a string primitive to be the same thing. We have the logic in Java, and it's small. It's not crazy huge.
And so the test files will be in this Parquet testing repo, and the automated test that go with it. So I'm assuming each project will have like a test that will read the file and check you can read it, right, or verify like it produces the right result. Do we need to define anything, or just like keep doing what we've been doing in terms of if I make a bug fix in a variant implementation in the code that produces it, and I want to make sure there's not something that still works in my implementation, but for some reason there's a corner case that breaks something else, and we want to verify that. How do I do this? I'm just thinking over time, right? We're going to validate to start with, and over time, how we use that also as preventing regressions.
Yeah, I think it'd be great to have something more automated. I don't want to like gatekeep on like getting something more automated in place to like prevent regressions. Like this is very clearly something we need. Nobody's kind of stepped forward willing to do it, and I think adding it on for this particular feature is a little bit gatekeeping. I don't know if we want to say like for future features we need something like this, so it raises the bar for whoever wants to do the next spec change. But like I don't think we should be moving the like adding on requirements for like automated regression testing for this thing. Like we need to take we should probably take a clear stand as a community that we need this before adding stuff in, so somebody does the work. But
well, we can start by, I mean, if each project already has a test that just reads the file, verify that it's the right output, right? If we do that, it can just be automated. I think then we have to think about what's the process to update those files, right? Like if it's we
never update. We always add new files.
We add new files. But if we add new files, maybe there's tests can know to how do you there'd be some kind of way of notifying others, right? Like how do I verify?
Well, one could like provide a manifest that people are parsing, or like listing the directory under Parquet testing, right? Like
we read all the files, right?
I mean, for now, let's just focus on getting these cases out there. We can find some time to produce it. It's not terribly difficult. So
yeah, if it's just if we have a standard way of putting the Parquet file and what's expected, then it would just happen, right? And it's just if you add new examples like this, it would just other project would pick it up automatically, right? It's just okay. I'm just checking all the variations here.
So everyone agrees it's a good idea. We just need to find someone to actually do it. Classic.
Yeah, I guess I'm gonna find some time to do like test validation, and then try to close that out. Well, yeah, if anyone is interested, please let me know as well. Maybe we can work together.
Yeah, I'm pretty interested since I'm validating a bunch of behavior right now. I think it'll be useful for me in real time.
Oh, okay. Yeah, maybe let me ping you offline, and then maybe we can work together.
Thanks.
Actually, yeah, please add me to that as well, as we've got. This is kind of, I think, for the final push for getting the spec done and just getting variants out there. And so at CMU, we could just redirect all of our attention to this just to make sure it gets off the finish line as fast as possible.
Yeah. Hopefully, we can have update for before next sync up.
Okay. Yeah. So if you want to include me on it, I can try to work with you to get the Parquet Java.
Oh, okay. Okay. Sounds good.
Okay. So I'm writing down Aihua, Michael, Martin, David to collaborate on the test files and test cases. Cross-compatibility tests to finalize variant. Yeah. Cool. Thank you all. Okay. Anybody else who wanted to chime in on this? Nice. Okay. Oh yeah, GitHub issue. Yeah, feel free to add. I shared the link to the notes in the chat for this meeting, and so feel free to add links and things and things I'm omitting to the notes. See you, Ryan. Okay. Next, is there anything else you wanted to talk about on variant before I move to the next topic, or are we good? This is the good conclusion we wanted. We're good? Okay. So next we have, I think I'm going to propose we talk about the question for the Haskell data frame. I think Michael, you mentioned that. Is what we just talked about going to help you with what you were needed to do? Or,
yeah. I think a general framework of inputs, outputs, and what they should have and what they should, what an implementation should produce would be pretty useful, because I've been going off of mostly the Java and Go implementations and kind of sanity checking against the Parquet CLI readers on some random Parquet files that I find online. But if there were some canonical examples where you could say, this is bit packing, this is run encoding, and this is nested encoding, and here's what the implementation should look like, I think that would be much easier.
Yeah, we exactly. Mike has put it in the chat. There's a GitHub repository with a bunch of example files that explain what the contents are that many of the other reader implementations have used, right? They have all the examples of the different encodings and stuff. It's called Parquet testing.
Okay. And Michael, so that I understand, are you writing a pure Haskell implementation, or are you what is this? Where does your implementation live? And can you give us just a little bit more details?
Yeah, so far it's pure Haskell. I hand rolled a Thrift parser as well, but worked with Simon Marlowe from Facebook to open source the Facebook Thrift Haskell, because I noticed they already had one. And so far it's just been reading the spec and writing everything by hand.
One thing I will call out, which it might be challenging in Haskell or might not, is considering forward compatibility for some stuff. So like Rust has had issues, at least with like, if you have a new enum, whether that panics or like throws an exception or something like that. And we're running into the same issue with sort orders for Rust. So as you do things, consider, or as you're looking at the thrift implementation, consider if it's forward compatible or sufficient, but there might need to be some patches along the way there.
Wait, what sort of patches?
So like the Parquet thrift definition like has enums, right? And if you add an enum and write a file with that, different readers will handle that differently. C++ and Java, for the most part, will just pass that along as unknown, and it becomes an application level decision whether it can still read the file or not. Rust, in some cases, will just panic immediately when it tries to read the thrift footer, making files unreadable.
I see. I think I went with panicking on most things because if you like get the byte sequencing wrong, then you're just reading the wrong thing.
Yeah, so it's not true in all cases. So like for statistics in particular, like sort order, right now sort order, there's an issue in Rust where like you can't add a new sort order without without essentially making the files unreadable by Rust. But like sort order only impacts statistics, so you can still read the files, you just can't do pruning.
I see, that makes sense.
So like, it's a non-obvious edge case that you should be aware of for like as a new implementation.
Oh, okay. Good thing to put in a set of tests as well, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, it's a little bit hard. We haven't really added sort orders in a while, which is kind of so I don't think it's been an issue, but like it would be something good to test. I think we have something like we have some data files for like logical type, for instance, that do this as well. Like when we add a new logical type in the past, I think implementations would throw an exception immediately, but like I think that's been fixed. So there are some, I think that was at Parquet testing already, or there's an open PR to do that.
Okay. So I think we have, unless there's other questions or things to talk about, I think I move on to the next topic, with the time interval. And then after that, I think we'll finish with the encodings discussion. So time interval, so Yuan, you mentioned that you were working on the time interval.
Yeah, I think mainly just like a follow up on last time. Last time we mentioned, I think we have agreement on at least a year-month interval. That thing I think is fixed as it's more for duration. Last time we mentioned we will do nano duration that annotates in the 64. I think based on the follow-up discussion, it seems like we want to parameterize this is instead of nano duration, we just say duration with a parameter for time unit. It continues to annotate in 64, and we are still carry on for the discussion for in 128 and fit length byte array. And once fixed, we will move on for a wider range for time related data type also. So if that's still a plan, I think we are. I replied on the email. I didn't see any other replies on the email for over a week. So I assume we are all set on this. I can clean up the definition PR and start resending out for review.
Yeah, I mean, I think the mailing list is canonical, so I think there's lazy consensus that that's how we should proceed.
Okay, then I think we can proceed on this. And once definition is in, I might see if I can pick up the Java implementation first, do the nano support.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other comments or questions on that? Okay, so I just write down that you follow up on a mailing list. Okay. Thank you. So last topic, encodings. I think with like Jeff, Meng, and now Hero. I think you mentioned encodings. So who wants to take on this? I think we had. Did we make progress on the process to accept new encodings? Is that related to this?
Yeah, Jeff, why don't you go ahead?
Oh, sure. Yeah. So, yeah, I think the process, there's a doc for the process at least. I don't know if it's final or if it's still in progress, but we were gonna look into starting a couple of new proposals for FSST and ALP for strings and floating point numbers respectively. Then I think some questions we had were just like, I mean, yeah, we can follow the process in the doc, but like, if there's any initial thoughts on those encodings, if people are like, no, don't use that, do this instead, or you know, I think those are pretty obvious ones to include. But yeah.
Yeah, I guess my recommendation is let's pick one. I think those are both probably very good things to include. And like, I think one of the ambiguities in the doc, which if you're serious about trying to contribute, that we need to nail down is just like the corpus of data sets that we need. But I think like FSST, I think would be great to add to Parquet. So like, it's going to be a little bit of, I think the first one's going to be a little bit rough just because the doc lacks some details, but I think like we can work through those to figure those out as we actually get serious, like get serious about adding a new encoding.
So between the two, probably FSST is a better starting point.
ALP actually might be simpler. Like FSST, yeah. There's a broader design space for FSST, I guess.
Yeah, yeah.
Even though it may be more generally useful.
Yeah, yeah. I think the thing about FSST is that there's nothing really else in the same space. Like it's kind of the only thing there. ALP, you know, there's like Chimp and Gorilla and some other things, but I mean, I think at this point ALP kind of seems like the obvious winner between them. But yeah.
Yeah, it's been a while that I looked at. I thought like ALP was kind of targeted at, like at slightly different use cases than Chimp or Gorilla, and so like at some point we might want to add both.
Yeah.
But
and ALP builds on top of Fastlane, I think too, right? So we'd have to figure out whether or not Fastlane is like a prerequisite or something.
I think ALP is independent from Fastlane.
Yeah. It uses bit packing, but it isn't specific to Fastlane, I don't think.
Yeah.
I think it's real value. Well, anyway, yeah, it's not the right.
Okay. Yeah. So I think one of the things is like if you guys are signing up to do the work, it's probably like whichever you think would be more valuable to go through, and like he's going to go through. I don't think we should dictate which one. I think they would both be valuable.
Yeah, I just kind of wanted, the group's opinion from a process perspective, like, for us, like we want to do both. Like we just, but starting point, yeah. I mean, I think ALP might be a little bit easier just from a data set perspective. It's probably easier to get a bunch of floating point number data sets than strings, but I think FSST is probably more generally useful. So it's kind of a toss up to me. I don't know.
So, like in that talk that was pointed out, the set of things or set of procedures that we need to follow to propose an encoding. There are a bunch of test data over there. Did we settle on that? Is it mandatory to try out all those test data sets, or just pick one of them? And
no, in fact, that was just like a list of potential data sets. I think one of the things to do here is to like narrow down, like one of the things is we want like some amount of reproducibility here when somebody says I have a new encoding. So like we want to standardize the data sets, and I was just pulling from like known good sources. So I think there's And I think, so it's not all data sets, but I think one of the major hurdles for the project clerk, what I was saying is standardizing on here's the data set we're going to use, making sure that that is available in the open, and we have a standard way of running those things is part of this, but definitely not all those data sets. We should narrow them down to a few, and Andrew posted another thing. I thought there was a link to the actual data sets from that paper, or somebody in the document posted a link to other data sets, but yeah, I don't, my concern there is just kind of reproducibility and having a good set of representative data to make sure we're not making things arbitrarily bad for some use cases, or at least we understand if we're making things much worse for some use cases.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So, but yeah, that's something that as you add the encoding, you guys can drive what you think is a good starting place for FSST for data that have reasonable amount of strings in them.
Yeah, I think it's important to really give a lot of visibility of this, right? As kind of possibly on the mailing list, or finding a way to how we evaluate, to showcase how we're evaluating those new encodings. I don't know if it's on the Parquet website, on a GitHub, so that people have the opportunity to give feedback, and we have a good process to do that, because I think we said we are not going to add many new string encodings or floating point encodings, right? We are going to add one of each possibly. So just making sure this is happening in a good open way.
Yeah. Yeah, no, we'll definitely post that, the things that we're considering. And I think as we settle down on the data sets, we'll post those also.
Yeah. And I think it should be a way. So probably should we have in the GitHub repo have somewhere where we have put it on GitHub, a list of the encodings we're evaluating next to the process we're defining, so that people, if other people want to propose something, and they can have somewhere to do that.
I mean, I think mailing list is probably a good place to start. If we need more process, we can do that. Just saying, hey, I'm looking at doing FSST, and if anyone wants to collaborate or has any opinions, yeah, I think with it, the other thing with FSST is there's still the question of how you encode the lengths, right? And that's ideally, if we don't want to explode encodings, it would be nice to consider integer encodings before we do FSST.
That's a fair point. Yeah, because we can't just FSST encode it's not a standalone thing. It kind of stacks on top of the string encoding, right?
Yeah, so we could use the existing delta length encoding scheme, which uses the delta path thing, which is perhaps reasonable for this, but delta length doesn't give you great ability to skip, so it needs to be adapted. But yeah, I think there's reasonable ways of solving that. It's just there's much wider design space for FSST.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, we have some ideas for integer encodings too, but it's less clear what the obvious thing to do is there. So we're gonna wait. We wanted to do something that was more clear first, so that might be a good argument for doing ALP first. Because if for the FSST encoding we end up with a different integer encoding, we may want to consider something else there. That's a good point.
Nice. Okay, so following up, you will talk about this on the mailing list. Do we have a GitHub issue that tracks this?
No, I mean, I think that'd be the next. You mean defining how we do it, or doing new encodings. I think like opening up a GitHub issue against like the Parquet format thing, saying, here's like a rough proposal for ALP, and here's where we are in the process. But I think first discussing on the mailing list, saying like, hey, we're going to go ahead with the ALP, and then we can have an issue to track.
Yeah. There's something that's published, right? Like it's just I think it should not just point to a thread on the mailing list in the archive website. I think a GitHub issue would be a good place.
Yeah, I think we like say, yeah, once we decide we're going forward with ALP, point to the GitHub issue saying like discussion will happen here.
Seems good.
Yeah. Cool. Anything else, or is that super excited to see possibly a new encoding being added?
Yeah, I think this is long overdue. This is great that you're spending time on this.
Yeah, I don't think anything else from our side. I think that's it. But yeah, we'll get going there and let y'all know how it's going.
Andrew, did you have, I guess, well, everybody's like, did you have more concerns about ALP, or like for the bit packing, can we use the, like, would it be horrible to use the existing bit packing stuff?
No, it wouldn't be horrible. I was, in my opinion, and just ALP was like building on top of the previous research out of that lab, which is called Fastlane, which is like some SIMD efficient way to use SIMD instructions to do bit packing and other things. So that's why in my head I've associated with it like a follow-on on top of Fastlane. But I think you guys are right that we could do that. They're independent.
We may end up even using the same bit, Fastlane for the bit packing component of it. Is part of the proposal, but what I don't want to do right now is propose Fastlane as its own encoding. And the reason for that, I mean, I think we probably do want to support Fastlane as an integer encoding, but just for disclosure, we're also considering like a patched frame of reference variant of Fastlane. And that has better outlier tolerance. And I don't know if we would want both, or if we would just want the patched version, or what. So I was thinking we would wait on that until we have more info.
Yeah, and that's really where like evaluation training sets would probably help inform.
Yeah. And there's a whole like theory now of like using some sort of cascaded encoding too, so that you don't have to like bind the way you're going to encode the integers, right, that you get from applying ALP explicitly, right, that you can basically plug in different types of encoding schemes for those. So I mean, that if we're going to go down that route, it's probably worth thinking about those too.
Yeah, I think how you fit that generically into Parquet is another question, right? Because I think there's a lot of, do we want to make that a prerequisite to introducing any new encodings? Because I think we just basically said that every encoding we introduce is going to have this exact problem, right? Like there's like FSST encoding the strings, but then how do you decode the lengths and offsets? So do you want to make that like a stacked encoding kind of thing? This same thing applies to ALP, same thing applies to various forms of integer encoding.
Yeah, and I think we'd actually want that at some point, but I don't want to block one on the other. So it's a question of, yeah, like I don't think we should block there, but I think it would be nice before we get too far along to have this encoding stuff.
Yeah.
Any other question on this? Okay. On the the last topic we had was Rok was inquiring on your new footer. So Alkis is not here, who's the main person working on that. Is there anybody else as visibility of what are the next steps when we're doing?
I can ping him again. I don't think it's his like top priority, so it might be. I'll try to have a conversation with him to see like if he wants to hand it off or if he actually wants to like drive it through. If other people, I guess the question is like, are other people like willing to pick this up and try to drive it through or not? It sounded like there was some interest in the last, but I'll yeah, like I'll mention it to him and see if there's a like a natural handoff point that can happen.
I'd be interested to contribute time. I'm not sure if I have enough time to drive it, but yeah.
I think there's a lot of value in this. So I don't know, like probably several people would be interested in seeing that happen, so we can see if someone's motivated enough to drive the process. I think Alkis made a lot of the work of figuring out a bunch of things already. So it'd be nice to push that through all the way to the finish line.
How do we, so for example, in the last meeting, we discussed a few things that, moving statistics object out or having a slightly better way to write those statistics, especially for integer fields, and not have it as a string item. And some of them are as far-fetched as, using flat buffers or even columnar representation as compared to the row major thing for a bunch of these columns. Do we want to have a perfect representation, or incremental approaches are also okay?
I think it's hard to have a very incremental approach here. Like the footer is someplace where I think causing churn has a lot of implications. So I think we want to be as careful as we can here rather than just saying, hey, we moved it to flat buffers. This is great. I think measurement here and at least exploring some of these other ideas to see if they improve anything is worthwhile would be my preference. And I think
got it. You're saying that we should strive towards getting a perfect idea of the landscape and then make a call which direction to take.
I hate the word perfect because at some point we should stop. But I think the idea that just throwing everything in flat buffers and calling it a day might not solve all of the problems. So I want to make sure that we at least explore some of the ideas of splitting it out to understand if that actually helps or hurts, in terms of parsing. Flat buffers certainly seems to be popular approach, and I think most people just said hey, we did in flat buffers, it's now great. But I don't know.
Yeah. So
I don't quite trust it. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's less it needs to be perfect. It's more like Micah said, just sprinkling some flat buffers on it and it's going to solve all our problems hasn't been a convincing argument yet to a broad variety of people. And so I think we're looking for more sort of meat behind that argument about what exactly you could or couldn't do with, say, software engineering, or that flat buffers, really would allow. Yes, I know it's zero copy, blah blah blah, but really, right?
Yeah. So one question that I wanted to ask, and that can probably help get some data as to what kind of workloads people are seeing. In some of these docs that were posted, it was called out that number of columns that one sees in file are the order of 1,000, 5,000, 10,000. Are these outliers, or people actually see a lot of tables with that many columns?
It depends.
Yeah, it depends. And I think it depends on what you consider an outlier. I have seen them in practice. We all know it's not theoretical, right?
Yeah,
it's definitely not the 20% use case. I don't even know if it's 10 or 1%, but it's enough of the fraction, and those workloads are important enough, I think, to people that we want to support some of that stuff reasonably.
I'm given to understand they will use as much as they can have of those columns at our place. So there's that.
Got it.
Yeah, Russell had a great point on the chat. It's like
the biggest tables also had the most columns. So they took up a lot of our concern because the little tables we didn't have to worry about as much. And then every once in a while, the person with the 10 petabyte, 10,000 column table comes in and is like, guess what? I need to have fixed. So
I guess another like wide table consideration is like separate that's related to this is in the headers especially is like when you have these wide tables a lot of times, like if someone like take a ML feature store as an example, you're not recomputing the whole table at once. You just want to recompute like one column, but right now you have to rewrite the entire file to change one column. Like, should we consider making the format better to support that use case, or
my stance there is that's a table format level concern.
And that's fair. Yeah.
Well, I would counter that. So when I talk to Ryan's not here, so I'm going to talk about my discussions with him. He says it's a file format level concern. So
reasonable people can disagree.
I've made the same argument, but we should figure something out, and I think between at least the communities we have involved here, we can make a decision, because everyone can't just say it's someone else's problem.
No, the reason I was trying to ask this is because I think if I remember correctly, you start going into this world of, you can also start going into this world of column families and grouping the columns the way I think the big table proposes it, if I'm correct. Or one can just have a sequential set of columns and then figure out which all to read and deserialize. Making some reasonable assumptions about the workload and then designing for that.
Yeah, and I think from when this was discussed on the mailing list, I think there's like two possibly distinct use cases here that people are considering. One is more like feature stores that they're using an open table format anyways for, and then like you can point the finger saying whose problem it is. The other one is I think for Rok, like the financial services place is just like one really big Parquet file, and maybe it resembles a little bit like a feature store, but it's a slightly different
column particular.
Yeah, slightly different I think workload, if I understand correctly. Yeah, so I mean, I think for the rewrite stuff, it's I think that's important to actually like Peter Very and Iceberg like ran some benchmarks, which I didn't get a chance to look into detail, showing that like being able to address columns independently would help both for reading and writing stuff. I think the debate for like where this stuff lives still needs to be settled for that particular use case. But I think even without that, wide columns is important. Oh, interesting. That's another interesting thing, Julian.
I wonder if it's a similar use case, right? Basically, people just like pre-materialize a join, and they output, they use it for various different things. But then, of course, it has a lot of columns, right? Because it's those joins between various tables. So they add up all the columns of the various tables.
Yeah, in a previous job, I've done exactly that with a proprietary format, because the open source formats didn't support it, and can confirm that it works well when you can write a column at a time.
I think there's definitely room for improvement in Parquet, right? It's kind of, and there's the first step is we cannot really do it incrementally, because incrementally for backward compatibility, right, we would just make the footer bigger for making work for the new and the old thing. So there's a little bit of, with the approach that Alkis was doing, there's a little bit of, okay, do maybe not perfect, but 80% of things, right? And then kind of get this much better to start with. And then, you know, like since it's flat buffer, we can still incrementally do more things top of it. So that was general idea, I think.
Yeah. Going back to the prior points of really nailing down the exact workloads that something wants to hit, that's going to be coming out again here very clearly of it's probably worthwhile to like canonize the example data sets. There would be, here is what we're trying to target, here's what we're trying to improve better compatibility for, and here are the exact files that we're looking at, where it's everyone has their own sort of conception of what a 10,000, 20,000 column file could be. But it's like, is this within the scope? And does it also get, what is the scope? And really pinning that.
Yeah, that's been challenging, right? There's been a request from like, you know, people contributing footers at least, and that like did not really go anyplace, which is maybe to say that like, you know, maybe those things shouldn't be prioritized, but those people are actually willing to do the work who have like the proprietary data sets for like the larger things. Yeah, like, I mean, for like, whether it's a Parquet file level thing to have like different objects per column, like everybody likes pointing to the fact that like Parquet thrift has like a file name in it for like column location that's never been used. I think we should actually, maybe that's topic for conversation. I think maybe we should deprecate that, or at least like take a stand on whether we're ever going to support it, because it keeps on coming up in conversation, being like, hey, it's in the thrift already. Why are we arguing about it?
It was in the original design for sure, and then never got prioritized.
But it's also come up on the mailing list that's saying like people, at least at the time, did not prioritize that. So yeah.
Okay, so we have 1 more minute. You know, I shared the link to the notes in the chat on the side of the Meet. So people feel free to comment on that. There are a few action items, right? So we have the action items to the test file, cross-compatibility test for variant. And Jan, you're going to follow up on the time intervals on the mailing list. And there was the email thread for ALP to talk about ALP or new encoding. And that's it, right? So we'll see you on the mailing list until the next meeting in 2 weeks. Thank you, everyone, and thank you for the great conversation. Bye-bye.
Bye, all.
Bye.